Scope in Bicep determines where a resource will be deployed. It tells Azure where to create or manage Azure resources. Scopes support different scopes. We have the resource group, which deploys to a single resource group. We have the subscription scope, which deploys resources across a subscription. We have the management group scope, which deploy resources across multiple subscriptions. Then finally, we have the tenant scope, which deploys resources at the Azure AD tenant level. To set the scope for a Bicep file, use the keyword target scope. Where this is not defined, it falls back to the default, which is the resource group. We have a template scope to the subscription, and we can see that this is being defined with the keyword target scope. For resource definition, we have the keyword resource defining the resource to deploy, and after the keyword resource we have a symbolic name, which could really be anything. Here we have the resource group as a symbolic name, then after which we have the resource type that is Microsoft.resources slash resource group. Specify that we are deploying a resource. Here we have 2021-04-01 as the API version. So yeah, then again we have a little bit of more information about the resource to deploy, which is the name. So from here we see that we'll be deploying a resource group called Bicep Learning Series at West US 3 region. So here we can see that this is an example of target scope deploying to a resource group. So it tells us that this template is targeting a resource group, and this resource will be deployed to the resource group. And we also have an example of deployment scope to a management group here. Here we'll see the keyword target scope has a value of management group, and we can see that this simply means that the policy definition here is actually targeting the management group, and the policy assignment also is pointing to the policy being defined previously. So yeah, the last one is the tenant scoped. This is just a simple Bicep file creating a management group. So yes, so these are how you can set the scope in the Bicep file. We have four methods, just like we have the four types of scopes. So it all depends on how the template was scoped. So for a resource group scope template, we would use this command, and for a subscription scope, we will have sub, not group. Okay, and for a management scoped, we have mg, and for a tenant scoped, we have tenant. So I would just want to give a simple example of how we can deploy some of these Bicep. Let's just go through how we can deploy a template file. So we'll open our Virtual Studio Code terminal. Of course, we have done authentication previously, which is logging into the Azure portal. Now we just need to provide a deployment script really. So we'll do easy deployment. Once we say sub, it means that this is scoped to the subscription. Then create command. We would specify the location, which will be West US 3. We also specify the template file. For subscription scoped example will be subscription-scope file. We see there. Then we could as well provide the deployment name. Just call it resource group because it's deploying a resource group. So let's see what happens. The Bicep upgrade notification just tells you that we have a newer release of version. If you want to update, you're free to do that. But for this demo, we're just showing release scope and deployment. So I'm going to ignore that for now. That's completed now. That's completed. The resource group has been created into the subscription. This is the summary of our deployment from the output. For a resource group scoped one, that will be this one. We have this command. The sub will now be replaced with group, and we'll take out the location specifying the resource group, which is where we are deploying to our target deployment. So this will be it. We run the command and let's see what happens. So if we go to the deployment, okay, on the resource group level, that's we then get to Bicep Learning Series, which is the target, and we stroll to deployment. We will see where this resource is being deployed to. We can see this is ongoing here. Or we can get to know more about that deployment here using the deployment details. It has now fully deployed. If we go again to our shell, we'll see it has successfully deployed. Basically, each scope will always have a deployment from the history of the panel where we can as well see what's going on. Like from here, we went to resource group and we saw deployment and we were able to see what happened there. Similarly, if we go to the subscription, we could as well see what happened the last time for our first deployment. If we go to subscription, we'll as well see what has happened previously. If we look out for deployments, we'll look for the hello resource group. This should be it. So we always have that information somewhere in the deployment blade. So this is our deployment of the resource group scoped resource. So it all went fine, just like we saw on the portal. Yeah, this is really it. We have seen the subscription group scoped and resource group scoped. Similarly, we have similar syntax with management grouped and tenant grouped. So the scoping will be different and little bits of changes to specify according to the scope. Managing scopes and deployment options in Bicep is very crucial to managing our resources effectively. In the next session, we will look at how we can further improve our Bicep templates from a simple hello world to adding more syntax such as parameters, variables, outputs to have a better code. Thank you and stay tuned.